Hey, I'm Dr. Charles P. Winston, Young Elders Butler, a regularly featured guest on the Young Elders channel about extraterrestrials. I have years of research into the ancient astronauts and ancient technology from your distant past and future. Over 30 ancient cultures reference interaction with physical beings they considered to be gods. Modern archaeology considers these stories to be myth. We will be exploring the 7 planes of existence, from physical to divine, explained in this amazing video. Ready for a cosmic adventure? Let's explore the 7 planes of existence together. Imagine reality as a vast, intricate web of vibrations. Each plane of existence is a unique state of being, from the solid material plane to the ethereal union with the all. Starting with the material plane, where we experience physical reality. Ascend to the plane of forces, where unseen energies govern our world. Higher still is the spiritual plane, the realm of emotions and astral connections. The mental plane offers pure intellectual clarity, followed by the divine truth plane, where guardian beings dwell. The plane of divine reality reveals universal truths, leading finally to the ultimate plane, union with the all. In this mystical journey, we become one with the universe, experiencing eternal bliss. Remember, everything in existence is a vibration. Embrace the journey and discover your place within the cosmic tapestry. There are many planes of existence between human existence and ascension. A plane is conceived as a subtle state, level, or region of reality. Each plane corresponding to some type, kind, or category of being. As you pass through the planes on the circle, you recombine with the rest of your entity, then with other entities, becoming more and more merged with the total consciousness of the universe. The material or physical plane, the plane of forces, the spiritual plane, the mental plane, the divine truth plane, the plane of divine reality, and the union with the all. These 7 planes also have subplanes or counterparts. The common mistake is imaging planes as layers of fine matter lying one above the other in space. Keep in mind there is no such thing as space, because space is always filled. Planes are distinct and intricate moods of vibration woven into one another so uniquely that one cannot determine where one plane begins and where the other ends. Everything you see, taste, smell, or feel is a vibration: frequency, sound, color, light, number, and letter. The natural mood of vibration ranges from very high and fast to very lowest and slow. Keep in mind, everything in the universe is in constantly motion. Nothing in creation rests. There are 7 heavens as well. The lowest and the slowest is the material or physical plane, while the fastest and highest is the plane where one is in total union with the all. These planes are divided up into 3 worlds or realms: a royal domain, kingdom. The region, sphere, or domain within which anything occurs, prevails or dominates. The highest or first is called Lahut, the realm of God. The second is called Malakut, the realm of the angelic beings. The 3 RH is called Nasut, the realm of the mortals. These 3 are one called Haula-I. Planes shift and gates can transport adventurers directly to any other plane of existence with different degrees of precision. The physical or material plane is the governor of carnal desire. The human beings dwell on the physical plane. It is governor by the number 3. Person, place, and things, which is a noun. It is partly made up of solids, liquids, and gases. The physical plane, the second of the planes, is where you experience solidity, separateness, and forgetfulness. The higher forces can also be held accountable for the many, so-called wonders and supernatural phenomenon of the material plane. You agree to forget your past experiences here in order to experience something new. Most of our discussion deals with the phenomenon of the physical plane. If you feel that everything that exists outside of this plane, you are wrong. There is still a lot to be uncovered on this plane. There are many more forms or states of being within the physical plane. This largely composed of etheric duplicates of objects on the physical plane or counterparts. Etheric refers to the spiritual part of you, as above so below. You are connected to the spirit world through your etheric cord. Etheric cords, or cords of attachment, are a common term used in energy healing and spiritual circles. We all have etheric cords. You are even born with them. Etheric cords are energy structures, cords that connect from within your energy bodies, aura, chakras, etc., and extend out of you. It can connect with other people, places, animals, objects, situations, and past events. When you connect with someone by interacting with them or even by thinking or talking about someone, you will create an etheric cord with them. An energetic cord will extend out of you and connect with that person. It can be as simple as where you place your focus, you will cord it. You create etheric cords as ways to connect with things that are around you. Etheric cords can attach anywhere on your body, although there are certain areas of the body which are more common. As an example, etheric cords that connect at and around the solar plexus chakra, personal power, tend to be from cords that attach due to normal daily activities. Etheric cords that attached at and around the sacral chakra, emotions, sexual, tend to be associated more with romantic partners. Once connected, you will then start to receive energetic information from this person. This information is carried back to you via the cord. The etheric cord is very much like a probe that transports energetic information back to you. This information is then read and decoded. This is how you sometimes know if you like or dislike someone even before you interact. Also, the Akashic Record, which is kept in Malakut / the Divine Truth Plane, 5th, in a star system called Lyra. The Akashic Record exists solely for the purpose of record keeping. It is an energetic computer which stores all experiences in the universe. It provides a place where the memories of everything that happens, all thoughts, emotions and physical experiences are stored on crystals and can be looked up later for reference. The Akashic Record is that neutral place that observes the games that take place on the other planes and provides a reference source which entities on the other planes can tap into. In a sense, it is the instinctive center for the universe as a whole. The instinctive center in the human body remembers and records all experiences from life to life. The Akashic Record remembers all experiences in the universe from its conception to its hues. When the universe completes its cycle and is ready to spin off a new baby universe, it is given a copy of the Akashic Record as its parent's seed. Thus, one of the purposes of the Akashic Record is to provide for the procreation of the universe as a whole. The plane of force is the force between voluntary and involuntary actions. The plane of force and the physical plane work together in perfect harmony. The plane of force is governed by a force called attraction and is all around us, and it's as much a part of our makeup as the material plane. Forces act in all planes. The plane of force, also called the vertical plane, is the plane that is perpendicular to the ground. If an object is not accelerating downward, there must be a force acting opposite of the gravitational force, but in the same plane. These forces can be normal forces or tension or magnetic forces. The gravity is the plane of force. Gravity is the force that attracts a body toward the center of the Earth or toward any other physical body having mass. The gravitational force is a force that attracts any two objects with mass. We call the gravitational force attractive because it always tries to pull masses together. It never pushes them apart. In fact, every object, including you, is pulling on every other object in the entire universe. Magnetic force is also gravitational force. Frictional force refers to the force generated by two surfaces that contacts and slide against each other. A few factors affecting the frictional force. These forces are mainly affected by the surface texture and amount of force impelling them together. The tension force is defined as the force that is transmitted through a rope, string or wire when pulled by forces acting from opposite sides. The tension force is directed over the length of the wire and pulls energy equally on the bodies at the ends. The repulsive or attractive interaction between any two charged bodies is called as an electric force. Similar to any force, its impact and effects on the given body are described by Newton's laws of motion. The electric force is among the list of other forces that exert over objects. The normal force is the force that surfaces exert to prevent solid objects from passing through each other. Normal force is a contact force. If two surfaces are not in contact, they can't exert a normal force on each other. Air resistance force describes the forces that are in opposition to the relative motion of an object as it passes through the air. These drag forces act opposite to the oncoming flow velocity, thus slowing the object down. An applied force is a force that is applied to an object by a person or another object. If a person is pushing a desk across the room, then there is an applied force acting upon the object. The applied force is the force exerted on the desk by the person. Spring force, the force needed to extend or compress a spring by some distance. X scales linearly with respect to that distance. That is, F's equals sine kx, where k is a constant factor characteristic of the spring, and x is small compared to the total possible deformation of the spring. You're not able to detect it because your senses are not conditioned. However, beyond the subplanes of etheric duplicates. Of the plane of force is a waste reservoir of forces which very few have knowledge of. These forces control the forces that result in what we know to be nature. The spiritual plane is where the emotions are manifest. Mystics and seekers experience higher states of consciousness as they ascend on the path of spirituality. The force that attracts a body toward the center of the earth or toward any other physical body having mass. On the spiritual plane, there is no distance, temperature, seasons, day, night, and it is not very subject to gravitation. The spiritual plane is also the astral plane, which is where you recombine with the other members of your soul entity and deal with emotional lessons. It is also where you begin to experience true sexuality, the complete combining of two or more essences in thought, feeling, and being. You are in complete contact with your essence twin on the astral plane, where you share all your experiences between lives. On the mental plane, you have direct intellectual contact with the angelic beings and you family members who have passed away. You continue combining with other essences and soul entities to experience the total merging of being. On this plane, you have an intellectual perception of the whole. You recognize truth objectively. Yeshua, Jesus, was a manifestation of the infinite soul who taught from this plane. The mental plane is the fourth highest plane. It is spirit and soul are outgrown. The mental plane is divided into 7 subplanes. In the mental world, one formulates a thought and it is instantly transmitted to the mind of another without any expression in the form of sound or words. Therefore, on the mental plane, language does not matter in the least, but helpers working in the physical world who have not yet the power to use the mental vehicle which activate their telepathy skills. The logic plane is part of the mental plane. The logic plane is the highest plane in the mental plane. It has been described as a plane of total oneness. Logic is reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. A system or set of principles underlying the arrangements of elements in a computer or electronic device so as to perform a specified task. Logic is the systematic study of valid rules of inference. That is, the relations that lead to the acceptance of one proposition on the basis of a set of other propositions. More broadly, logic is the analysis and appraisal of arguments. With logic, you create another reality called cause and effect. Cause and effect is a logical system that organizes evidence to show how something happened. Description: a cause and effect question, how did this happen? Cause is a person or thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. A principle, aim, or movement, because of a deep commitment, one is prepared to defend or advocate. Effect is a change which is a result or consequence of an action or other cause. What goes around come around. The consequences of one's actions will have to be dealt with eventually. To treat someone badly over a period of time, for example, by making them do things that are not necessary, or by telling them things that are not true. The divine truth plane is where the guardian angelic beings dwell. All souls are born on the divine plane and then descend down through the lower planes. However, souls will work their way back to the divine plane. On the divine plane, souls can be open to conscious communication with the sphere of the divine known as the Absolute and receive knowledge about the nature of reality. The plane of divine reality is the spark of life. The divine reality is what allows the universal truth to be understood. It constitutes another way in which the divine reality behind the world invades our lives. Divine love works on these 2 planes, the divine truth plane and the divine reality plane. The most fundamental feature of divine love is that it tends to transcend itself. In other words, it has a strong urge to overcome itself, which in turn leads to an equally strong urge for creation. That's why we say that without divine love, nothing would be created. What is love? Love is life itself. True love stands there in the time of danger and would risk its greatest gift, which is its very own life, to see that another loved one survives, while fear would run and hide. The most powerful love of all is for a man to lay down his life for a friend. True love would give you the shirt off its back, and never at a later time would it come back to throw in your face what it has done for you. What is fear? Fear is death. Fear is the true opposite of true love, which is divine love. The seventh plane. The union with the All is the eternal bliss. Becoming one with the All has been a spiritual, mystical, and religious goal since man has been placed on earth. Being one with the All means that you overstand and understand that there is no number but one. Everything is one band, one sound. The measurement from base to top, or, of a standing person, from head to foot. What is quantum physics? Quantum physics is the study of matter and energy at its most fundamental level. Quantum physics is that energy comes in indivisible packets called quanta. Quanta particles can behave like waves, and waves behave as if though they are particles. Quantum reality, or quantum universe, was the term used to describe the alternate timelines in which all possible outcomes for any event that took place. Each quantum reality was its own separate parallel universe, characterized by a unique quantum signature which could not be altered. All matter resonated on a quantum level with this signature within the universes. A warp bubble, also known as a static warp bubble or static warp field, is a type of subspace deformation, a warp in the fabric of space. Some individuals, such as those native to the planet Tau Alpha C, were capable of manipulating warp bubbles with their minds. A person could become trapped within a warp bubble. Escape would depend on creating a stable threshold between the warp bubble and the outside environment. What is a black hole? A black hole is a place in space where gravity pulls so much that even light cannot get out. The gravity is so strong because matter has been squeezed into a tiny space. This can happen when a star is dying. Because no light can get out, people can't see black holes. They are invisible. Why? We can't even take photographs of anything that takes place inside a black hole. If light cannot escape their immense gravity, then nothing can be snapped by a camera. Black holes have a positive side and a negative side. Black holes do lead to another part of a galaxy or another universe. There would need to be something opposite to them on the other side. The negative side suck in matter and the positive side release matter. Unlike the negative side of the black hole, the positive side will allow light and matter to leave, but light and matter will not be able to enter. Far from destroying the information that it absorbs, the collapse of a black hole instead experiences a quantum bounce, allowing information to escape. Black holes creates a loop, tunnel, or time dilatation in space. It is a slowing of time in accordance with the theory of relativity that occurs in a system in motion relative to an outside observer, and that becomes apparent especially as the speed of the system approaches that of light. Called also time dilatation. How are black holes formed? Black holes form when the center of a very massive star collapses in upon itself. This collapse also causes a supernova or an exploding star that blasts part of the star into space. Scientists think supermassive black holes formed at the same time as the galaxy they are in black holes, serving as a portal. A portal is a general term for a stationary interplanar connection that links a specific location on one plane to a specific location on another. Some portals are like doorways, a clear window or a fog-shrouded passage, and simply stepping through it affects the interplanar travel. Others are locations, circles of standing stones, soaring towers, sailing ships, or even whole towns that exist in multiple planes at once, or flicker from one plane to another in turn. Some are vortices, typically joining an elemental plane with a very similar location on the material plane, such as the heart of a volcano leading to the plane of fire, or the depths of the ocean to the plane of water. Some are time vortex, like what was open in 1943 during the Philadelphia experiment. Now, this time vortex open every 10 years from then: 1953, 1963, 1973, 1983, 1993, 2003, 2013, 2023, 2033 and 2043. All these years mark a time in history. If you go back to these years, you would see that in these years, some things happen in each of these years. Also, in fluid dynamics, a vortex is a region in a fluid in which the flow revolves around an axis line, which may be straight or curved. Vortices form in stirred fluids and may be observed in smoke rings, whirlpools in the wake of a boat, and the winds surrounding a tropical cyclone, tornado, or dust devil. The time vortex, also known as the space-time vortex, sometimes simply the vortex. Vortices open up a wormhole through the sixth dimension on one side and put you out on the other side back in the same dimension, but it could be in a different time from when you enter. The space-time vortex exists outside of any normal frame of reference. Within it, light, darkness, matter and energy all blend, divide, shift and change. It underlies the whole of creation, touching the normal universe only slightly. Its pathways are twisted, unstable and hard to follow. A journey through these strange dimensions might take a moment and carry a traveller 1,000,000 years and 1,000,000,000 light years from his/her/its origin. Alternatively, a journey of months in the vortex might end in a shift of 6 to 10 days in conventional space, without being able to calculate the pathways. According to some accounts, all time travelers pass through the vortex, often using space-time machines, UFO. The vortex was hinted at existing outside of time and the universe itself. Time and the vortex were not the same. Often being in the vortex was compared to being outside of time, where travelers were neither connected to nor separated from time. What is matter? Matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space by having volume. Matter is material substance that constitutes the observable universe and, together with energy, forms the basis of all objective phenomena. What is light? Light or visible light is electromagnetic radiation within the portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that can be perceived by the human eye. Visible light is usually defined as having wavelengths in the range of 400–880 terahertz between the infrared and the ultraviolet. The light particles are called photons. Light's energy is related to its frequencies. Photons have energy and are in constant motion, so light is defined by wavelengths, which is the measure of the distance from one peak or top of a wave of light. What is time? How do we measure it? Time is the word emit backward. Time is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events that occur in an apparently irreversible succession from the past, through the present, into the future. It is a component quantity of various measurements used to sequence events, to compare the duration of events or the intervals between them, and to quantify rates of change of quantities in material reality or in the conscious experience. Time is often referred to as part of the fourth dimension because it exists up to the sixth. Time is not something tangible. It is only an emergent effect of motion. During our lifetime, we are part of an ever-changing sense of time as we go from the past to the future. But as units of time, our lives begin in the future and eventually recede into the past. Neither past or future are physically real, only the present is. Everyone measures his or her own experience in time differently, because the speed of light is the same for all observers. In other words, if all observers accept that the speed of light is 186,282 miles per second, then they can't agree on the time it takes for other objects to travel relative to them. This means someone moving through space-time will experience it differently at various points. This point is referred to as zero reference point. There are 10 measurements of time. You have 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. You have 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. You have 60 minutes, which is 1 hour. You have 24 hours, which is 1 day. You have 7 days, which is 1 week. You have 28, 29, 30 and 31 days in a month. You have 12 months or 365 days in a year. You have 10 years in a decade. You have 100 years in a century and 1,000 years in a millennium. You have an epoch, which is 1 million years, and you have an eon, which is 1 billion years. After that comes a terranum, which is 1 trillion years. In relativity, time becomes an integral part of the universe and cannot exist apart from the universe. The speed of light is invariable and absolute. Both space and time must be flexible and relative to accommodate this. Time dilation, as well as the associated length contraction, the process of becoming smaller, is negligible and almost imperceptible at our normal everyday speeds. However, it becomes pronounced as an object's speed approaches the speed of light. Time, also known as the time continuum, time continuity, or time frame, is a non-spatial dimension in which events occur in a seemingly irreversible transition from one state to the next, as governed by the laws of the local universe. These sequential events form what is known as a timeline. More timelines can be formed, and time travel can result in splits in the timeline. What is speed? Speed can be defined in several ways. It is the rate at which an object covers distance. Speed is the distance traveled by an object divided by the time interval. Speed is the magnitude of an object's velocity. What is the speed of light? Particles of light, photons, travel through a vacuum at a constant pace of 186,282 miles per second. A light year is the distance light travel in a year, which is rounded off to 6 trillion years. If a spaceship could travel at, say, 99% of the speed of light, a hypothetical observer looking in would see the ship's clock moving about twice as slow as normal. That is, coordinate time is moving twice as slow as proper time, and the astronauts inside moving around apparently in slow motion. At 99.5% of the speed of light, the observer would see the clock moving about 10 times slower than normal. At 99.9% of the speed of light, the factor becomes about 22 times, at 99.99%, 224 times, and at 99.9999%, 700 times, increasing exponentially. At the speed of light itself, time completely stops. Even though a spaceship traveling at close to the speed of light may take 100 years to reach a distant star 100 light years away, as observed by people on Earth, the astronauts in the spaceship might hardly age at all as they travel across the galaxy. This characteristic of relativistic time has given rise to a lot of discussion of time travel, which is another issue. There is an easy way to think of this difficult concept. When an object is in motion, its movement shares some of its spatial movement with movement in time as well. In other words, when we move in space, we are moving in time also. In fact, even when we are at rest, we are still moving in time. Therefore, if we can move at relativistic speeds, then time slows down. Consequently, at the speed of light, time stops. What compels this sharing of dimensions is the invariant nature of the speed of light, which is a fundamental constant of the universe that can be exceeded. For all practical purposes, the universe, including us of course, is moving in time at the speed of light. Thus, the slowing of time at relativistic speeds occurs, in a sense, to protect the inviolable cosmic speed limit, namely the speed of light. There is a quite complicated relationship between the speed of light and time. When we move in space relative to other objects, part of our motion is spent in slowing time down relative to them. The faster we move, the slower they perceive our time to pass. When objects approach a black hole, they accelerate away from our frame of reference or time. If a galaxy is 1 million light years away, if we travel to that galaxy at the speed of light, it will take us 1 million years to reach there, and we'll be there in present time. What if we could go there at a speed faster than light? Would we be in the past then? What is mass? Mass is both a property of a physical body and a measure of its resistance to acceleration when a net force is applied. An object's mass also determines the strength of its gravitational attraction to other bodies. The basic SI unit of mass is the kilogram. Mass, in physics, quantitative measure of inertia, a fundamental property of all matter. What is E equals sine mc2? Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. In physics, mass-energy equivalence is the relationship between mass and energy in a system's rest frame, where the two values differ only by a constant and the units of measurement. What is velocity? The velocity of an object is the rate of change of its position with respect to a frame of reference and is a function of time. Velocity is equivalent to a specification of an object's speed and direction of motion. As the velocity of body increases significantly, comparable to speed of light, the mass of the body also increases. This is the effect of relativity. If we move slower than it, comparable to speed of light, we will be the persons who first experienced the time dilation. Time slows down for your frame of reference. If a spaceship approaches to the speed of light, then the time inside the spaceship will flow slower. If the spaceship travels at the speed of light, then the time inside of the spaceship will stop altogether. For the people inside of the spaceship, they will not realize that the time is going slower. The closer that the spaceship approaches to the speed of light, the shorter the spaceship will become, the spaceship will shrink in size. Also, the people traveling inside of the spaceship will notice that the universe is getting shorter and shorter, reducing in size. The speed of light is maximum speed that any subatomic particles can achieve, and in special relativity, the relation between speed and time. For example, when a train reaches the speed of light, that is 186,282 m/s, the time for the passenger will stop for an observer who is outside train, therefore the observer will experience more time than the passenger who is travelling in the train. The clock which has been placed in the train will not move at all, whereas similar clock placed outside will be normal. Thus that time and speed. What is space? Space is the boundless universe of 9-dimensional extent in which objects and events have relative position and direction. Physical space is often conceived in 3 linear dimensions, although modern physicists usually consider it with time to be part of a boundless 5-dimensional continuum known as space-time. The truth is, there is no such thing as space because space is always fill. Space is an expansion of up, down, and around. Earth sits in space right now. The moon sits in space right now. What about the dot? The universe began as a dot. This dot expand to create universes, galaxies, and star systems. When the dot exploding, it created the first plane and dimensions. The dot exploding is the Big Bang. The first cycle was a dot in the universe, then that dot became a line, stood first dimension, the line became a wall, second dimension, the wall became a square, the third dimension, the first dot split like a daughter cell into 2. The second dot formed the circle by completing one cycle around to itself. None knows, save itself, where the circle begins and ends. Then it began to spin, to form an orb, and thus 360 degrees of square and 360 degrees of circle is born. The circle was turned inside out and placed within the confines of the square. This was accomplished by first dividing the circle into 4 parts, geometry was created and dimensions were formed, measure was in effect. What was the Big Bang? The Big Bang is the leading explanation about how the universe began. At its simplest, it says the universe as we know it started with a small singularity, then inflated over the next 76 trillion years to the cosmos that we know today. In the first second after the universe began, the surrounding temperature was about 10 billion degrees Fahrenheit. The cosmos contained a vast array of fundamental particles such as neutrons, electrons, and protons. These decayed or combined as the universe got cooler. What is a dimension? A measurable extent of some kind, such as length, width, height, and volume. The dimension of a mathematical space is informally defined as the minimum number of coordinates needed to specify any point within it. Thus, a line has a dimension of 1 because only 1 coordinate is needed to specify a point on it. In physics, it can also mean any physical measurement such as length, time, mass, etc. We can think of our waking reality and our dreaming reality as examples of 2 different dimensions that pretty much all humans experience. In fact, there are different dimensions, each of which has different rules about what can and cannot be done.